So, hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
I have the distinguished pleasure of having Ernie Sweeney here from Wurth, Canada on I Am in a Car. This is episode 47, so thank you for doing this, Ernie.
Number 47 I am, so thank you very much.
I should stop saying the numbers as they get higher, probably. I think we've been back and forth a little bit over the last month, and
That's correct.
you've been gracious enough to agree to come on the show, as it were. So maybe, I know a lot of people probably have a good idea of Wurth and have heard of the company, but maybe you can give the audience a little snapshot in terms of, where you've come from and how you got involved with Wurth and kind of what you're up to today over at Wurth Canada.
Okay, fair enough. I joined the company in July 1988, so this year it's already 29 years past. So a long-term employee, but we have a lot of long-term employees at Wurth. Very happy to join this company. It's a privately held company, a German-based company.
Right.
And we are really involved every day in sales and partnerships with many different companies around the world, actually. We visit more than 3 million customers every single day around the world. We're the largest direct sales force, company-employed sales force in the world. And we are the leader in the sales and distribution of fasteners. So anything that attaches two parts together on vehicles, primarily in Canada, we sell to the automotive industry, auto and cargo, which we call heavy equipment, trucking, and so on.
Sure, yeah, okay.
But we also sell to the industrial marketplace and construction marketplace. I joined in 1988. I was out of another company, also a construction company back then. And I joined the company as a finance manager. Strange enough, I studied finance courses, of course, and accounting in school, but
right.
I graduated in sales and marketing, and this is what makes me more of an extrovert than a regular financial person.
Right.
Not saying financial people are bad, don't get me wrong, but I like sales and marketing. I like being in front of customers. And we have, in Canada, 4 different Wurth companies. So we have more than 27 Wurth companies in North America. Wurth USA is similar to Wurth Canada. And Wurth Canada is the biggest Wurth company in Canada. We have about 450 sales reps and managers
right.
across Canada, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC.
Coast to coast.
Coast to coast. We have internal employees here in Guelph of around 100. Another dozen employees and colleagues in our Atchison or Edmonton warehouse.
Right.
So we have 2 distribution centers. I was, for 11 years, I was finance manager, taking care of a team of colleagues in finance, accounts receivable, credit, payroll, HR, all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
And 1999, my former boss left the company, and I was given the opportunity to be co-managing director. I occupied this position as a second in line, let's call it, for 3 years, more or less.
Right.
And finally, they put me in charge of the entire company in 2003, September 2003. So this September will be also 14 years. Right.
Wow. So when did you know it was coming, that you were going to become the head at the helm?
No, you don't know these things in advance. You try to position yourself. I say to all of the colleagues, in the sales force who want to become managers and internal employees who want to take on additional responsibility, it's all about positioning. So you have to be in the right position at the right time with the right attitude and the right results.
Right.
And the right attitude and results is very, very important, because we believe in people with the right and strong and positive attitude, and we believe in people with good, solid results.
So, I think there's a lot in what you just said, and you simplified it pretty well, and I think that's kind of where a lot of great ideas come from, is when they're the simplest they can be. Mm-hmm. So, doing some quick math based on the number of team members you mentioned that are currently at Wurth Canada, You're over 500.
Over 500 employees and growing. Next year we will be 575, more or less, including the sales force and the internal teams. So definitely still a growing company.
Right.
Since I've joined the company, we were 26 in the sales force back then. We had maybe not even a dozen internal employees. So from that small company in 1988, 29 years ago, we've seen a lot of growth.
Yeah.
And we still have growing pains today. It's just...
Do they ever go away?
They never go away. We just have to adopt and adapt. I'm saying adopt because we have many companies in the Wurth Group that are larger than Wurth Canada. So we have to adopt their best practices, their strategies, their structures, and so on. And then we have to adapt it to the Canadian realities.
Yeah, okay, cool. So how many people were inside the organization when you took the helm over?
When I took the helm over, there were approximately, I would say, 330 employees.
So you're almost doubled.
So you're
on your way to doubling.
We're on our way to doubling. That's correct.
Wow. So one of the things, I kind of mentioned this a little bit before we started getting on the road and getting in the car. There's not a lot of people that I've had an opportunity to that are managing teams of over 500 people. So maybe, a lot of the people that are watching this, entrepreneurs, business owners, other business people in the community and around Canada, there's a lot of people that do a lot of content around startups. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people talking about how to grow a business, but there isn't a lot of content that I've been exposed to that's around how to manage a large group and create change in a way that doesn't get a ton of friction and gets a lot of buy-in. And I know there's a lot of stereotypical industry vocabulary like change management and all pivoting and whatever, all this kind of stuff. So just curious, from somebody who's been in the trenches, at the helm, when you guys have a large organizational change or even a small one with a large organization, what kind of things do you kind of keep in mind to be able to create as little friction as possible when making a change inside the organization?
It's we have to be decision makers. We have to have the right vision, obviously, as an entrepreneur. But you also have to, when building a team, you have to surround yourself with the right people. And in my case, I'm very, very fortunate at this because I was able to find myself a really great group of individuals, and we work very, very closely together. I say we have to make decisions. However, decisions we make are typically in a group. We exchange ideas, come up with, I've already heard before from one of our management consultants that we can expect the 70th idea to be the best one. Right. So no idea is thrown away. We always review everything, and we make ideas in teams. Different groups for different matters, for different issues or opportunities or challenges, and we get together and we review everyone's ideas, what is best for the company, what is best for the strategy we have going forward, for our plans, for our targets, for our own vision at Wurth Canada, and then we come up with the right idea. We communicate it in a very clear way with as much advance notice as possible. Sometimes it's longer or shorter, but it's very, very important to have everybody on board. And it's not a selling job, right? We're in sales, but making changes and change management is not necessarily a selling job. It's getting a buy-in from everyone where they can see the benefits for themselves, for the company, for their own departments individually, and where they can feel that they're part of the solution, they're part of the decision-making process.
So, it's really interesting you bring that up, and it's been a bit of a theme for my journey this year anyway, around the idea of connecting individuals to the new direction, whether it's a new vision, whether it's a strategic change, whether it's a new opportunity, whatever it is, but making sure that the line is very clear between the individual, the benefit they're going to get from that new direction, and how they're going to impact that new direction. So I understand very rationally, and I get it, that needs to happen. But I find it can be difficult sometimes, even in an organization, like our organization's only 30 people. So to take the time to articulate that seems like, for some that I've talked to, too much time. How can someone possibly, connect the dots for every individual in an organization? So, like, when you have a team over 500 people, how do you go about connecting those dots and making sure the individuals understand their impact, not only personally but organizationally, with a new idea?
Well, I talked earlier about team, building yourself a good team. We have many different teams at Wurth Canada. We focus on more or less a 10-to-1 ratio. One manager is responsible for and works for 10 individuals.
Okay.
It's not the other way around. The manager works for the individual.
That's interesting.
Very, very important. And in this manner, we are able to share ideas, share the benefits for each and every single individual, and communicate it properly all across the organization.
Pretty quickly.
And pretty quickly. It's again important because we need to understand that any organization, as far as I'm concerned, is only as good as its employees. Certainly Wurth Canada is in this manner. We're only as good as our employees. We would never be anywhere without our employees. There's always who comes first, the customer or the employee. Very, very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, big time.
In my case, I can say, in our case, we always look at our customers first because they're the ones who are buying our products. They're the ones who are paying the bills. They're the ones who are paying our employees.
Right.
So I say customers first and employees second. But employees close second because without them, you will not achieve anything. And regardless of how long it takes for a manager to explain the situation, the changes, or the new policies, or whatever, regardless of how long it takes, it must be done clearly and sufficient time allowed for everybody to understand, accept, and move on.
Cool.
And move on, because in the end, everybody must move on, right? Everybody must, again, adopt and to the changes and understand the strategies and again, what's in it for them.
Right.
It's important to communicate this.
There's something you just said, though, a minute ago that was really interesting. And at Intrigue, I think it's similar. Our organizational structure is upside down. So the ownership is at the bottom, and then we have our managers, and then our frontline staff, and then the customers at the top of it. So I think it's very similar. But I'd love to touch on what you said there, because I feel like it's like subtle, but like remarkably important. Mm-hmm. The managers work for the team of 10. Mm-hmm. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
I've seen a lot at Wurth Canada over the years, and I've been around many different people, managers, staff, sales force, and I can tell you that different ideas on how to manage people, different ideas on how to control or deal with different issues. In the end, the team is only as good as the members, and the manager is put in place for a number of reasons, but basically one very important one is to lead, to train, to coach, to mentor, to guide, and instruct and educate and so on, all of their employees. And I keep telling our managers at Wurth Canada that people do not just report to us, yes, because this is the hierarchical level.
Right.
Hierarchy, sorry. However, managers must be working for the employees because this is the only way where we can foster ownership, belongingness, and accountability within team members, as far as I'm concerned.
So there's very few business people that in a 15-minute conversation will bring up the importance of belongingness. So can you help us understand what that means at Wurth Canada? Because I feel like it's something that's really important for people, period, whether it's in an organizational setting, a family setting, a social setting, whatever. But I find that it often gets dismissed when it comes into a corporate environment. So to hear somebody like you talk about that as like core in terms of the success of the organization, first of all, you know, what does it mean, belongingness, from your perspective? And then second, why is it so important?
Well, you know, what it means from my perspective is that people must, employees, not people, but employees and colleagues must feel that they are a part of Wurth, and Wurth is a part of them. And that what goes on in the company is a result simply of everyone's actions, everyone's efforts, and the performance as well, right? Based on everyone's actions and efforts. In my mind, it's important for each and every single colleague and for the whole organization, because people will be more willing to commit, to engage in different activities. They'll go a step further, they'll go the extra mile to get things done when they know that the company will benefit, but they will also benefit based on based on the more positive results, let's call it. In this way, I think it's very, very important, the belongingness idea to be spread throughout the company, but for everyone to understand what it means, and especially managers, because to tell everyone that we're going to have a 15% sales increase next year, and for people not to take part in this, it'll be much more difficult to achieve if they're not part of the company's culture and feeling of belongingness, as opposed to being just a employee answering their phones and coming and working from 9 to 5 or so.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I think on an even larger level, I find it's interesting when people talk about the economy as if it's like a separate entity from the individual behaviors and actions of people. And I think it's really interesting that you bring that context into an organizational setting of over 500 people, when the actual organization itself, not only its identity, its perception by people, the performance, it's all about the sum of the individual's contributions, right? So I think that's really neat that you bring up belongingness. So to change directions for a quick second, I know that there's a topic here that anybody in business, starting up, growing, you know, established, mature, whatever, there's some relevance to, and that's sales. And being such a large sales organization, and being, you know, the head of such a large sales organization, what's at the core of successful sales from your perspective?
The core of successful sales. What I tell many colleagues in the sales force, one common element of almost all, yes, I would say all successful sales reps and managers at Wurth Canada is organization. Organization, because without proper organization, they would not be able to properly service all of their customers.
Right.
Don't forget, we're a direct sales organization, so on average we have active customers, about 85, 90 active customers per sales representative.
Right.
Including sales managers. So to organize yourself to provide the top level customer service that is expected from our customers, this is extremely important.
Huh.
But, you know, I mentioned the word attitude earlier.
Yeah.
Without the right attitude, you're never going to be successful. You are never going to be successful. Sometimes you have rotten days. Rotten days means that you don't have You may have 0 orders, you may have many less orders than what you expected. You still have to get up the next morning, put a smile on your face, have the right plan, follow the plan, be organized, and this will put you in a position to be much more successful than leaving home lost.
Yeah, I love the fact that I think organization. I mean, that was definitely
but personal organization.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like being on top of who you need to talk to, when you need to talk to them, what the status is on any given client at any given time, understanding what they like, what they don't like, what they've ordered, what they need, like organized.
Yep.
Right? I think it's really interesting because when I didn't expect you to say that, but I can understand it. Our best salespeople are really organized.
But I can also say something that's maybe sound a little bit corny because it's old school. Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Proper planning prevents poor performance. The 5 P's.
The 5 P's.
That's
so
great.
Planning, of course, is very, very important as well. So if you're not organized and you don't have the right plan, then.
Well, it's interesting you bring it up too because we have this kind of little mantra that winners are tied to the process, not the result.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of idea that if we have a plan, we got to stick to it. Regardless of the result, we need to get up the next day, keep focused, have that plan, stick to the process. The result will come.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really interesting that you mentioned that in such a large sales organization, which is really cool.
Yeah, but we have to be flexible nonetheless, right? Because if you think of the going after the same goal day in and day out with the same process and always expecting better results, you know what I'm talking about. Right?
Einstein said something like that.
It will never happen, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to be flexible and adapt to change, and of course, change is the only thing that's constant. So you have to adapt to change and make those little changes and moves or redirect yourself only when necessary, of course. But try to stick to the plan. If you spent enough time on the plan and you believe in the plan, then try to stick with it and make it work.
That's cool. I think it's interesting, this idea that I think a lot of people, when they develop a plan strategically, rationally, it makes a lot of sense. But then a lot of people that I've experienced anyway, even myself included, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, the emotional side kicks in. It's like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to do something different. And they kind of let up. And I think that, what you just said is really significant because where we've seen the most success in our organization and in my experience as a person has been with, I don't know if this is actually a word, but stick-to-itedness. So this opportunity, there's the people I've seen that have stuck with it when it gets tough.
Yeah.
They win.
Stay focused.
They win.
Yeah, that's correct. That's absolutely correct.
That's cool. So, last piece. This is kind of more of a hindsight is 2020 kind of perspective. So, if Ernie were to go back to Ernie, 19, 20 years ago when you first started taking over Wurth Canada at the helm anyway, at the head. Formal role is what? CEO?
CEO. President and CEO.
Yeah, President and CEO. So if you go back to yourself 20 years ago and tell yourself something that you know now that you wish you had knew then, what would it be?
I would have focused on improvements in communication. We talked already about how do you share the plan with all of your colleagues at work, how do you get the buy-in from all of your colleagues and so on, and the importance of proper communication and clear expectations. I would have just focused on improving communication within the organization. This, I believe, would have also created more opportunities for even faster growth at Wurth Canada. We have good growth. This year we are experiencing, and we'll finish the year with 13.5% growth. Next year we're looking at about 16% growth in sales, which is good. Expected from our German colleagues.
Yeah.
Of course, double-digit growth is absolutely necessary. But what I would say is communication is one of the I won't say weaknesses, one of the areas of improvement of many, many organizations. So this is what I would have focused on.
So then, if you could just give us an example of where communication actually, like an improved communication example where it impacted result. Like, why is it that communication is so important from your perspective?
Communication is important because, I said earlier we're a growing organization and we will continue to grow for the next decades, I hope, in any case. And with change, with growth comes change. And to have everybody accept change, communication is extremely, extremely important. And the more people who understand the need for change and can adapt to it, they will be more productive employees, and it will help the entire organization. Because we expect good results, of course, from all of our employees. But if we can make sure that whatever change that we want to introduce is done in a way and communicated in a way that shows and demonstrates to our employees we're doing it not only for the benefit of the company, of course, but for all of its employees and the growth and all of their families, right? Because we employ 500 and some individuals, but we support 500 and some families.
Right.
Very, very important. So we Wurth, we're a B2B, business to business.
Right.
And it's so far from the truth. We have employees, colleagues, friends who are sales force or internal employees who work with partners, with customers, with people on a daily basis. So we're much more person-to-person business than we are B2B.
Cool.
So this is why communication is very, very important. And having the courage to make tough decisions. Very, very important. Having the courage, and then when you make the tough decisions, make sure you communicate them properly. This is very, very important for any organization, actually.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole other segment on what communicating properly means. Because I know that the need for communication is super important. I think a lot of people get that. But I think a lot of leaders get lost in how to implement good communication. One of the things I've learned just recently was the power of context. And I'm just so wired to move fast. Like, that's just how I want to get everything going. I want to start yesterday. It's just kind of how I'm wired. And one of the things I've known rationally for a while is this idea that I need to take one step back to take two steps forward. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what that meant in terms of the how of the one step back. And I spent, half an hour, which seems like not a lot of time, but for me, it used to be, to create context with a group of team members inside our organization about why things need to happen a certain way. And that half an hour, as much as nothing got done, the whole group was like totally light bulbs, like, okay, totally understand, I get it. And it just dawned on me that context around decision making is so important in communication. Because in my historically, and still now every once in a while, I think it's like, this is what we're doing, here's why, but there's a whole bunch of thoughts that lead up to that conclusion. And I think, helping people understand where it's coming from is super important, to your point.
No, that's correct. And we meet on a regular basis, of course, the management team and all the employees as well. When we have news to share, or even with the management team, when we're talking about implementing changes. I don't say to the employees or to the managers, we need to do it. We need to do this for this reason. I try to explain the reasons why we're doing it, and then, okay, now how can we get it done?
Okay.
How can we get it done? And we try to empower as many people as possible within the organization to take risks, because without taking risks, a person will never know the extent of their abilities, right? The level of their abilities. So we try to have people take risks, make mistakes. Make mistakes, I heard before, is one of the best things in life, is you learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if you don't do them over and over again, but that's just a joke. But no, empowering people and taking risks and proper communication. I can go on.
I know. I was going to say we need to do another one.
I'm telling you, it's just it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for doing this. That was
You're welcome.
a great I'm in a car, Ernie.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That was my pleasure. Okay, see you guys.
See you guys. Ernie Sweeney Uncut.